Welcome to Wanderlust and Wishes, the podcast where we explore the world one destination at a time.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Krystle.
As travel agents with Fantastical Vacations, we are here to share our passion for travel and help you turn your wanderlust into reality.
From hidden gems to bucket list adventures, join us as we dive into the sights, sounds, and stories of our favorite destinations.
So grab your passport, pack your bags, and let's embark on this journey together. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 109 of Wanderlust and Wishes. Today, we're going to talk about going to Universal on a budget, because we've mentioned this in a couple of our episodes already, but we have noticed a drastic change in the pricing of Universal. Universal used to be kind of the budget alternative to going to Disney World, and it is not any longer. Actually, we'll talk about this, but in many cases, you can find a trip to Disney for significantly less money than going to Universal. And this is going to do it like we would be talking about apples to apples, like staying on site, using whatever their line skipping option is, same amount of park days, that kind of stuff, like when we look at it. Okay, so let's get started. We picked two different options for time frame because they are popular time frames for families. One of them is the first week in October of 2026, and the other is the first week of April 2027, which is kind of, at least around here, and I think Krystle's family is the same way, that's typically our spring break time frame. And also, just as an FYI, we are able to book the first part of 2027. If you wanted to book summer through the fall, that's not quite available yet, but the early 2027 into the spring is available.
All right, so to start our ground rules, basically, we are using our own family type. Julie, 2 adults, 2 teenagers, mine, 2 adults, 3 kids. If we do 2026, we are at 4, 7, and 10. If we go into next year, we age, which I guess it really doesn't matter because Calder's considered an adult anyway. But our budget was $5,000. And basically, that is including your hotel, your tickets, and your on-site transportation. This does not include food. This does not include souvenirs. In some cases, it may include Express Pass. It may not. And we are both coming from outside of Florida. So there's no residential perk on that front. There's no sort of like pass holder. So we do have to get tickets and hotel. Like most of you, you'd be flying in. This does not include flights. So it's proving to be a little bit more difficult for me just because we have 3. But let's jump into it, and we can show you what we're talking about when we're saying it's not a budget anymore.
Okay, so I did 3 different options, and actually, I think I only technically, like officially, stayed under $5,000 on one of the scenarios, and that's with my family of 4.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
We're starting off real strong.
I know. The first one, the total is $5,297.69. We are staying at Stella Nova for 5 nights from October 5th through October 10th. And we got the standard 2-queen room. We did a 3-day park to park with Volcano Bay. And it also has like a promotional plus 2-day promotional ticket. Obviously, we wouldn't use all of those tickets, but at this point, like, it doesn't cost us any extra to have that promotional ticket. We do get a bundle and save bonus of $100 because we have a park-to-park ticket. I did include cancel for any reason. This also obviously includes the early admission as part of staying on site. But this is the thing that I added that I was kind of excited about. I did a 2-day, 3-park Universal Express Pass. That's included in that. So basically, one of our days at Epic and one of our days at the OG parks we would be able to use Express Pass. Now, this is a regular Express Pass. This is not the unlimited Express Pass that where you can go as many times as you want. You can go to each ride once. But I think that if you're able to add it in, if it's an expense that you can afford, that Express Pass, at least the minimum regular Express Pass, is worth adding on to get the most out of your trip. Now, you may not be able to do that. We're going to talk through like other scenarios where it's just not possible. Okay. My second option that I chose, this is the one that I got under 5,000. It is $4,870.27. This one is only staying 3 nights, so it's October 5th through the 8th. But we're staying at Lowe's Portofino Bay, which is one of the signature resorts, just staying in a regular garden view room. I think one of the things I want to point out, and I know that it will come up with Krystle too, there's not a lot of fifth sleeper or third sleeping surface options at the Universal hotels like there is at Disney World. We love the fifth sleeper rooms because our children do not sleep well together. So in these scenarios where we have just the 2 queen beds, it's going to be a challenge. Like, that's a stressor for me. I did a 2-day park to park ticket. So in this scenario, we're just visiting the OG parks. We're not including Epic. It includes cancel for any reason. And then it also has the free Universal Unlimited Express Pass because staying at a signature resort. The other thing that I threw in was a Halloween Horror Nights ticket. So this 3-night trip is really focused on the OG parks, and it doesn't have any inclusion of Epic in it. And I think that's significant because that is what is starting to make the prices get kind of crazy. Okay, my last option for the first week of October, it is October 3rd through the 9th, so it's a little bit longer trip. It is $5,063.13. So it was like just barely over. I have us staying at Universal Cabana Bay. They actually have a family suite, but for this particular, like, so I could stay under budget, I'm just staying in a regular 2 queen bed. I did a 3-day park to park plus 2-day promotional ticket that I mentioned before. It's already on there. And this is actually also, I forgot to mention, this is the Harry Potter package. So this includes the 3 different breakfast options in the different Wizarding World of Harry Potter areas of the park. It also includes the Florian Fortescue ice cream parlor flight, and then the shutter button session and photo. So it has all of those things included in this price. The other thing that I did is I did add on a 2-park Universal Unlimited Express Pass. So that Express Pass is only applicable to the 2 OG parks. We have the ability to go to Epic with this one, but I did not purchase an extra Express Pass for Epic just because I was trying to stay under budget with this particular trip.
I'm noticing you get a lot more extras than I do.
I think this is something for sure. Like, obviously, Krystle has the extra person, but when we've talked about this before, I do like to get the extras. I don't like to have to wait in line. I don't like to stay at value resorts, although these 2 of the resorts that I'm using are considered value resorts. In this instance, I wanted to have Express Pass, so I had to make a choice whether I stayed at the more expensive resort or hotel, or I stayed at a cheaper resort and I added maybe a 1 or 2-day Express Pass in the trip.
Yeah, it's interesting to start like seeing what your priorities are and how much you're willing to bend. For my October, I have a couple options, but you will see that I had to really figure out, we can't do it all, I guess. Our first option is October 1st through the 4th, staying at Portofino Bay with a 2-day park to park of the OG. parks. And that's all we can get for $4,642. I wanted to stay at Portofino, so we'd get included Express Pass, and trying to squeeze it into 4 days, there's not enough time to do Epic. So that's where we stand. This does not include, if I'm staying in a regular hotel room with all 3 of my children, we'd have to get a rollaway, which Lowe's Hotels at Universal charges $35 extra per night. So I'm already pushing that budget. That's not included in this price. If we wanted to include Epic, I played with dates a little bit, and I have October 7th through the 11th at Cabana Bay with a 4-day park to bar with Volcano Bay. And we are at $4,810. There's 0 Express Pass here. But I guess with 4 days of tickets, we could do 2 days of Epic maybe, or 1 day at each of the OG parks. Like with the park to park, we could go back and have a little more time to wait in line. Then just another option that I threw in there because I was experimenting with club level. So hear me out on this. When you have 5 people, club level pays for itself very easily at Universal Hotels because it's a small expense per night per person, but you're paying for that just in eating breakfast at the club because you plan on $20 per person just for breakfast in the parks. I'm at $100. So I did October 6th through the 9th at Portofino, club level, 1 day park to park in the OG. So you get Express Pass with that, and 1 day at Epic. And we're at $5,977. But a lot of that would be food. If I drop the club level, it puts us at $4,800. But that's 1 day at Park to Park and 1 day Epic. So we're only doing 2 park days.
And that's only 3 nights.
Yeah. A lot of mine are only 3 nights, 2 nights. Because with this budget, I can't do a full week unless I don't do parks.
Yeah, we realized really quickly that we were like, we should be able to like figure some stuff out with $5,000. And then we realized really quickly that we were like, ugh, this is not easy. This is hard.
Well, and since Lowe's put into effect their whole dynamic pricing, so we have prices for spring on here too. These prices are going to change dramatically between now and in 3 months from now.
They can. And that makes it really difficult to quote for Universal. I just booked for someone and I was trying to explain to her whenever we were going back and forth and we were just trying to decide what she wanted to do, that I gave that as a caveat that Universal has dynamic pricing on the hotels. And I could give her the same exact quote tomorrow and it would be different. It could be in her favor and be less money, or it could be significantly more money. I just wanted her to be aware because, I don't want anybody to think that I'm not accurate when I give them information. If I send them something and I send them the same thing like another couple days later, or they make a decision another couple days later and the price is different, I don't want them to think that's because I wasn't paying attention. So I usually make sure that they're aware of that from the beginning.
Yeah.
I did 3 options for spring break. And same scenario, I had 2 that were under budget and I have 1 that was over budget. And I don't know, I just wanted to be able to show what it looked like and kind of give a comparison. Or if you really have a fine line, like that's your budget, then you're not going to be able to do certain things. Okay, so the first one is the total is $4,679.02. We're staying from April 4th to April 9th. And one of the things I did with this one in particular, I think I did it a little bit in October too. I didn't pick that we would arrive on the weekend. I picked arriving on like Monday to try to save money on the hotel. So I did the 2-bedroom suite because Surfside and Dockside have 2-bedroom suites, which is really nice. They're considered like the prime value resorts, but they're really very nice. And they're one of the only places that has extra space that the other resorts don't have. They just have the four, basically sleep four people. And like Krystle said, you have to pay for a rollaway bed to get a fifth person in there. And a lot of times getting that rollaway for a fifth person, it is really tight. Like you're literally climbing on top of people to get from one place to the other. Okay. I did a 3-day park-to-park ticket, and I included cancel for any reason, and that was my total. So in this instance, I didn't have any budget. There was no way I was going to be able to include Express Pass with this particular scenario. They don't have Express Pass released yet for 2027, so we just kind of have to guesstimate how much it would be. But at basically $4,700, I would not be able to get Express Pass for $300 for my entire family. I could maybe get one Express Pass for one person. So that was not going to work. Okay. My second option is, this is with me guesstimating what the pricing is for Express Pass since they didn't have it. So I estimated that adding in a 2-day 3-part Express Pass, and that's the regular Express Pass, not unlimited Express Pass, is $1,100. Because for my October trip, I believe it was like around $1,000. So that actually is probably pretty conservative. It might even be more than that. But for the purposes of doing this, I made it $1,100 for us to do that. And that allows us one day to use Express Pass at Epic Universe and one day at the OG parks. This puts the total at $54.77.61. So pretty much, pretty over budget. The other things that were included, I stayed at Stella Nova, again, with the 2 queen bed room. I did a 3-day park-to-park ticket, and then I have cancel for any reason on it as well. So the last one, I really went over budget. Like, I completely blew the budget, really. I would consider this blowing the budget. My total is, oh, you know what? I didn't mention the days that I stayed on the last one. I don't remember. I might have mentioned it. It was April 4th through April 9th. Okay, so this one, I'm staying April 5th through the 8th. So again, this is just 3 nights, and I'm going over budget with 3 nights. The total is $6,096.24. And this is staying at Lowe's Royal Pacific. When I looked at the signature resorts, like the options that I knew, the 3 signature resorts that have unlimited Express Pass included, I looked at whatever resort was the least expensive. I just picked, I didn't have like a specific one that I was looking for. I just picked whatever was the least expensive in my scenarios. So in this particular case, it was Royal Pacific. Then we have the 3-day park-to-park ticket and cancel for any reason. And then because it automatically includes the unlimited Express Pass, like that's already on there because it's not an additional charge. But like that also puts me in a situation where I am at a park every day and I don't get a rest day. And I do not like that. I don't like not building in a rest day. I always build in a rest day. And that's the way that I built the other plans, was that we have at least like part of a day to be able to just chill at the pool or just do nothing. And this one does not have that. And I'm way over budget. And I think some of that is because it's during spring break. Doing this scenario over the spring break week was a lot harder for me than doing the one in October. I felt like I had more options. I was able to add in the Express Pass without blowing the budget. In this scenario, I was not able to do that.
I don't know about you, but this was really stressing me out, and these are only fake scenarios.
Yeah.
So now that I'm looking at them, I didn't find a spring one under $5,000. Our spring break always runs in accordance with Easter, and Easter is that last Sunday in March for 2027. So my dates are kind of bouncing between like March 30th timeframe. So my first one is March 30th through April 4th. I'm at Dockside in a 2-bedroom suite with 4 days of park-to-park tickets, and I'm at $5,189. So if I cut it down to 3 days, we would be under budget, but 3 days is also with no express pass. I don't think you could get it all done. And we also don't have a rest day on any of these. Oh, and all my scenarios, I had to take off, cancel for any reason because it was pushing my budget too high. Do as I say, not as I do on that.
But I think that that's a good point. I mean, I think it shows that you want to include that because it's important. That's where people often land is they're like, oh, I mean, that's $59 per person for 5 people.
Yeah. Another one, I tried a split stay. So I figured if we were doing Epic one day, we would need to be over by Epic, but we would need 2 rooms because lovely Stella Nova and Terra Luna do not have rolloways. You have to get 2 rooms. So I did March 26th through the 27th. So one night at Stella Nova with 2 rooms. I did add 3 days park to park with that as a package. And that brings me to $3,947 for that package. But that's only one night of rooms. So to play around, I was like kind of bopping to some other hotels. If I do the 27th through the 30th at Cabana Bay, it adds an additional $1,600, putting me at just shy of $5,600. If I drop a night and do the 27th through the 29th at my other, still at Cabana Bay, it is $1,200 for the room over there. So that would put my total package price at $5,200. And that's for still only 3 nights. But we'd have to do a split stay. And we do have 3 days of park to park, no express pass. So then I was like, well, let's just stay Cabana Bay the whole time. And I'm at March 31st through the 4th, 3-day park to park, Cabana Bay suite, $5,245. So the only way I could do it is if I stay at Dockside and do a 3-day park to park, 0 express pass. And at that point, it's not worth it to me because I don't want to stand in line. So that's the only one that would put me in budget. But I don't think 3 days is worth it.
Oh, I know. I mean, I think those are the things that I've kind of struggled with is some of them were like, I don't think that we can fit in Epic into this trip. Maybe Volcano Bay. But
so that's where I'm at with my family is I don't know if Epic would be worth it right now. Like I know Calder would love it, but I would rather do less days, stay at Portofino or one of those signature to include Express Pass so we can have an enjoyable time in the OG parks and take our time.
Yeah.
So this was a real struggle.
Yeah, it was. We've kind of thought about like what would we do if we had an extra $1,000 and what would we do if we lost $1,000? Well, I think if we lost $1,000, I think we wouldn't be able to go.
No.
Because even if you wanted to, and we talk about this a lot, and I talked about this with my trip last year, you might be able to, on the surface, look like you're saving money by staying off-site. And if you said, okay, I only have $4,000, and you might be able to stay at like an Airbnb or something and get maybe a 2 or 3 park day ticket. But you're going to be paying for the transportation, especially if you fly in, like you're going to have to rent a car or you're going to have to take an Uber to the parks. And because that's just the easier way to do it, or you're going to have to sit in traffic, which I wouldn't want to do either. I would not want to be driving every day back and forth. That would be so stressful to me. That would be, yeah, I would never want to do that. That would not be a fun time. So you have to factor that into your budget as well.
You are paying for parking.
Right. Yeah, you're paying for parking. It's not necessarily going to be the best option to stay off site to save the money. Now, everybody's situation is different and everybody's priorities are different. But I think both of us just don't feel like it's worth it with the sizes of our families. Like, I get it. Like, if you have a family of like 10, it might make more sense because you're not going to have to get multiple rooms if you wanted to stay in an Airbnb. But either way, you're not getting there for under $4,000. That scenario, I think, is just like out the window.
Yeah.
If you add an extra $1,000 on there, I think to me, it sounds like with Krystle, having the extra $1,000 to bump it up to $6,000, that's basically just getting her in the door because in most of her scenarios, she was way over budget. just to get there for a couple of days. Having that extra $1,000, I think, is obviously helpful, but I don't know that it would necessarily change a whole lot for the options that Krystle was able to look into.
Yeah, I might be able to add maybe an extra night or upgrade my room
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. But yeah, we're already over budget on like all of them. So it's not doing much. Sadly, like I hate that it is this way right now, but it's the reality of what we're seeing.
Yeah. And really, like, I obviously don't want to pick on Universal because everything's expensive right now. It used to be like you could do so much more at Universal Orlando for the money. And it's just not the case now. I think there are, I think probably one of the trade offs that we could potentially suggest is being flexible on your dates and going when it's not quite as busy. The hard part with that is a lot of people just don't want to take their kids out of school. And I totally get that. But sometimes the reason the pricing is so expensive in April is because that is prime spring break time. Everything is expensive. Pricing in spring break and around Christmas, everything is going to be like probably a good 50% more expensive than it would in another time frame.
Well, so I was pricing out a Disney trip for my friend, August in the heat or spring break. And it was $1,000 more for her family to go over spring break. And that doesn't include the extra cost that flights are because they inflate over spring break. I didn't even look at Universal, but I'm sure it's very similar.
Some money saving tips that may help with lowering the budget in this instance. And this is going to be specifically with what we were working with. So this doesn't necessarily this is not going to impact your food budget or well, it could impact your travel, like getting there, travel budget, depending on what it is. So first, booking early. It really is always better to book as soon as you can. In most cases, there's going to be some type of promotion that gets released, and we can apply those after the fact. That way, the pricing is locked in. With Universal, it can be a little bit wonky because of the dynamic pricing, but they do release promotional tickets that you can apply, and it can definitely save a huge amount of money. If you had like a 5-day park to park ticket and they released the one that I was talking about, the 3-day plus the 2 promotional ticket, then that's a significant savings with your tickets. And that could probably save you probably $500 or $600.
Another one would be to be flexible on dates. We kind of touched on this earlier, but if you move your trip by a week, it could save you hundreds of dollars. But even just moving it from like a check-in date on the weekend, like a Sunday, let's try checking in on Monday. When I was playing with it, you can see the difference between your tickets starting on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. The price changes based on which day you start your ticket run. So maybe if you get in on Saturday, maybe let's not start your tickets till Monday if you have the week-long vacation, just to have a pool day and a rest day, just to save a couple $100.
Understanding when Express Pass makes sense. Obviously, it's not needed every time. And I also think that this is dependent on your family's priority. Some people are okay with waiting in line as long as it's not crazy. Not everybody has to like go straight to the front of the line. And also, not everybody feels like they have to ride every single thing. They don't want to experience every single thing. They may have a very specific thing that they want to do, like someone that just wants to do the Harry Potter sections of the park and they truly don't even care about the rest of the park, or they might walk around the other parts of the park, but their priority is experiencing everything in the Harry Potter sections. Then it's really not, I don't think that adding Express Pass would be worth it, because for those particular rides, you would just rope drop the one that you wanted to get on for whatever day it was. But some trips, I think it makes a huge impact, especially, and this is the hard part, is because for spring break, you're trying to work with that budget, but adding Express Pass would make a significant difference in how much you can do over spring break, because spring break is going to be crazy crowded and you're not going to get as much done if you don't have Express Pass. So I think those are the things that you have to talk through when you're making that decision.
When I talk through it with clients, we usually land on, if you're only there for a day, maybe two, I prioritize Express Pass. And if you can do 4 or 5 days in the parks, it's not as needed, because maybe it's we wait in 2 lines on this day and do short rides, and then you do 2 on another day or something like that. Another time we prioritize it is the holidays. If you're
Yeah.
there New Year's, if you're there over spring break. So it's so hard to, where do you draw the line?
Yeah. Well, like the most recent client that I was working with, we just decided to do Express Pass for 1 day for them. So they're going to be there for a few days and they're going to experience what they can experience on the other days, but they're going to use that day. They actually are going to have a park day before their Express Pass day. So they're going to do what they can, and then they know on their Express Pass day, these are the things that we want to experience. These are the things that we need to do and that we can skip the line for. So that's also an option, is like not doing it for the entire time that you're there, or not doing it for every single day. You can pick a day and use that to the best of your ability. Like use that as to your advantage.
For sure. Another one is to know which hotel perks matter. So there's no need to pay for a signature hotel for Express Pass if you're spending all your time at Epic, because that Express Pass doesn't transfer to Epic. This is also, I think this matters more with the signature and with the Express Pass, but are you paying more to stay in the vicinity of Volcano Bay and have a cool pool if you're not going to have any time at the water park or in that pool?
Yeah, that makes sense. We also talked about this. Don't automatically assume offsite is cheaper. You want to definitely run the math and make sure that you're incorporating the cost of parking, the cost of getting to and from the parks every day, the time that you spend in traffic, and really the convenience of being on property and having transportation, on property transportation, and being in the vicinity, closer vicinity of the parks. And then also having the early park admission that you don't have if you're staying offsite.
I love that it's an hour up there, because you can get a lot done in that hour. Our last point would be to work with a travel advisor. I was talking with a gal that her son is on Calder's baseball team right now. She found out I was a travel advisor, and she was like, I wish I would have used you for Universal, because I royally screwed things up. I didn't realize A, B, and C. I spent so much money out of pocket when we were already there because there are things I didn't realize. We run these numbers all the time. We see the trends. I don't like to say we can hack the system, but we kind of know the little tips and tricks to make it as budget friendly as we can.
Yeah. And I think too, just we've had, a couple episodes on like rope drop strategy and how do you get the most out of the parks and, that kind of thing. And I'm always going to be very upfront with, if you say I have a budget of X, then I'm going to be really upfront that I don't know that we'll be able to get you everything that you want for that amount of money. But I'm going to work as hard as I can to make sure that we're meeting your budget needs, but also put some expectations out there on the level of budget that it needs to do the things you want to do.
If you have 2 seconds, we'd love if you would drop a comment, review, or a rating just to help our little show grow. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, you can always shoot us an email or a DM. And as always, our services are free to use if you would like us to plan your trip. We do more than just the parks. We can do cruises. We can do all-inclusives. We can do a rental car and a Marriott down the street. Like whatever you need, we are here for you.
If you have any budget tips or anything that you've used before with your trips to Universal that we didn't cover, we always love to hear from you on things that maybe we just didn't mention. So if you have ideas or things that you want to send over, please send over. Thank you so much for listening this week. We hope you have a wonderful week, and we will chat with you all next week. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wanderlust and Wishes.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform.
And remember, the world is full of wonders waiting to be explored. Until next time, happy travels.
Bye for now.